Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our webinar on community services and social work. I'm your host, and I would like to introduce Natalie Morton, who will be uh, presenting our uh, webinar this evening. I'll also introduce Nikita and Andrew, who are in the background. They will be answering any questions. If you have any questions or would like to ask anything of us, just pop it into the chat and Nikita will be able to answer any questions. And if you have any questions that you'd like to be asked of Natalie, just pop them in and we'll answer those questions at the end. So, Natalie, very welcome to our webinar this evening.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you very much. Yep, so I'll just go for it. Yep,
Perfect.
okay.
Yeah, fire away.
I'd just like to welcome everyone to the webinar. It's our custom here at Ikon to just acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands. I'm sitting here on Gadigal country of the Eora Nation. But interestingly, I heard some sort of local knowledge that where I live is it was a place where Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people would transition through. So there actually isn't a really well-known name for the sort of the local kind of peoples, and so it is known as kind of freshwater country where the sea meets the land. So it's quite an interesting. It's sort of evidence, I suppose, of some of the history that's been lost. And that's one thing that we often talk about in social work, actually, and community services is the situation of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and social work's role, and how we can support people, our Indigenous peoples. But my job is really to tell you about a little bit more specifically about community services and social work. So a lot of the questions that people have is, well, what's the difference between the two disciplines? So the first thing is they're very similar. They are similar degrees with similar content, but one is probably more focused on sort of being at the grassroots level, working with people, and that's community services. And social work is it does also work at the grassroots with people, but also has social workers have a broader role. So they are actually working in quite a different capacity. So they can work with individuals, with groups, with families, with communities, at a societal level, and policy, for example, working with statutory organisations and things like that. So community services is very much about walking alongside client groups and supporting them to have capacity, to be able to engage in the community and participate, have a voice, support people to make change, and often the ways in which community services workers will do that is by becoming a case manager, or working in programs, supporting development of the program, helping people to access resources, and just overall supporting clients. Some of the general kind of settings in which community service workers will operate is in non-government organisations, with government organisations, and some examples can include housing support, disability support, and youth services. And what we're hoping to do is to empower, provide access, as I said, offers crisis support, and support people to feel that they're included in society, I guess. I was going to say something else about community services work. Oh yeah, a lot of you may be doing disability support work or mental health support work as part of your part-time jobs. So community services gives you the opportunity, by studying community services, it gives you the opportunity to step up in those within those organisations. So to move away from the direct care, but to be able to support, be more of in a team leader role or in a management role, or sort of more of a face-to-face, but doing more of the case management sort of work. So if any of you are doing in that kind of position where you're doing part-time or full-time disability support or support work, community services, a Bachelor of Community Services will actually allow you to kind of progress through your company if that's something that you're interested in. So as I said to you before, social work is a little bit, it's a bit broader and maybe gives the social worker the bit more of a capacity to work with complexity in people's lives. So one of the things we often talk about is intersections of disadvantage. So that might be that people are dealing with gender violence, for example, but also housing challenges, racism, and we social workers are equipped to kind of work with the complexity of those cases where there's multiple factors which are actually accumulating disadvantage for people. So often social workers will also be very mindful of the role that social and societal discourse might have on people feeling oppressed and disempowered in their lives. And so social workers will be working more at a structural level, trying to support people to see the ideas that might be pulling them down, and also look at what's happening within organisations that might be actually, without even realising it, continuing to cause oppression in people's lives. So it has a little bit more depth, you might say, to the work that you do. It also works at the individual level. Social workers work at an individual level in group work, families, communities, and society in general as well. And social workers could actually be working in casework, assessment, advocacy, policy, community development, systemic change. It's very wide. In fact, some of the things that I had to say to my students, and I actually really believe this, is that an education in social work can really equip you for life, because it has so many elements in your underpinning degree that it really helps people to emotionally mature, I suppose. So we really promote the notion of critical reflexivity, so trying to help our students to actually reflect on the work that what they're learning, and eventually to reflect on their practice. We also, and the same with community services, we have a very strong ethical base. So everything is drawn. We draw on the ethics of self-determination, human rights, social justice. I wrote a note about this, integrity. These are the sorts of principles that is really embedded in education, in the education for both of those courses. And that ethical decision making is how we actually learn to make decisions in terms of how we work with people. Some of the settings in which social workers will work is in hospitals, child protection, in the criminal justice system, within the welfare system, and for government as well. And yeah, what we're hoping is to create systemic change, organisational change, safeguarding, assist people to make long-term change in their lives, group work, social action, social justice, supporting advocacy. All of that is sort of like what we're hoping for our clients. One of the things about social work and community services is it's really fantastic because it is a vocational degree that you're considering. So it's very different to some of the broader degrees you can do. So, for example, like an arts degree is quite different to a social work degree, because with a social work degree or even the community services degree, you go straight into a job. Whereas if you do a general degree like arts degree or science, it's actually quite a lot harder to actually get work because it's not leading into a role. Whereas if you finish with a Bachelor of Social Work or a Master's in Social Work, you will have the opportunity to go straight into working in a hospital as a social worker. So there's no scaling up to build your kind of role. It's like you don't start somewhere and then build up to become a social worker. You go straight in as a social worker into that job. Same with child protection, you can be employed as a social worker. Schools, you can be employed as a social worker. So it's a vocational direction that both of these degrees offer. Okay, moving on.
Perfect. And also thanks, Natalie, for going through that. But if anyone has any questions, would like to pop them into the Q&A, please feel free. Apologize, there may have been a slight echo there for a moment, but I think we've rectified that. If there's any further issue, just let us know. But yeah, so Natalie, if you were able to just give us a bit of an insight into the course overview on community services and Bachelor of Social Work or Masters of Social Work as well, please.
Yeah. So the Bachelor of Community Services is 3 years in duration, but within that is a nested Diploma of Community Services. So you can actually start in either with either sort of qualification in mind, but you can exit after the first year with a Diploma of Community Services if that was your choice. But then if you stay in there and continue on for the 3 years, you'll exit with a Bachelor of Community Services. So they're on campus, and we have locations. We have campuses across Australia: Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney. And as I mentioned, the diploma is a pathway into the bachelor degree, and there's no placement linked to that. The Bachelor of Community Services, it's been developed so as it aligns with Community Work Australia, and we are currently in the process of getting that degree accredited at the moment. So that's, I know for sometimes for international students that can be really desirable to ensure that there is accreditation. And part of the Bachelor of Community Services is that there are 2 placements, and each placement is 200 hours. So essentially that probably means 2 days a week for a trimester. And you would be placed into a community service organisation to do your placement. And so the things to emphasise is that you don't have to get your placement. We have a placement team that will get your placement for you. And that's a really important distinction, because I know there's some other providers, students have to get their own placements, and it's caused a lot of challenges. So we've got a dedicated team to organise placements for students. Again, if you're working in support work, your placement will not be working in support work. It'll be like a step up from that in terms of giving you more responsibility, more not so much management, but more higher level duties in a sense. So you'll be kind of learning about how community service workers work in those kinds of contexts. The Bachelor of Social Work is a 4-year degree, and as I think I've already mentioned what you get out of it. It's also accredited through the AASW, which is the Australian Association of Social Work, and that's the professional body. And it's also on campus, and we have that offering in all of our campuses. And that also does, part of that involves 2 placements, which are 500 hours each. So this is a little bit more of a challenge for students to get 500 hours of a placement. So it's actually 1,000 hours in total. So it's dedicated across a trimester, but you're more likely to have to do 4 to 5 days of placement. So that's something to be thoughtful about in terms of how you manage that. And it is a very rewarding experience to do placement, because you generally will have a social work supervisor, and part of that shadowing that social worker and learning about how that social work role is in that organisation. And then we have the Masters of Social Work. So that's a qualifying degree. So it's the same, you'll come out with the ability to go straight into a social work role. That is delivered mostly as a blended course. And what that means is that some subjects are available online, and they may be offered asynchronously, which means that you have a subject and you work through the content sort of at your own pace. There's like videos and readings to do and activities, but you're essentially doing that independently. But there is check-in times that you have with your teacher. Some of the subjects are taught synchronously, which means that you're doing a 3-hour class online with your fellow MSW students, and that is sort of how that's delivered. And then another part of the way in which we do it is that there is a face-to-face requirement where you have to come to campus for one of the campuses, and you come in for an intensive delivery mode where you might come into Ikon for a whole week, and you really go into a couple of subjects in great detail. So that's sort of to try and make it a little bit more accessible for everyone by offering that kind of blended delivery. And the reason why it's not completely online is because that's a requirement of the ASW. And the reason for that is because social work is such a personable, relational discipline that it's really hard to learn about becoming a social worker exclusively through online learning. So the practice that you get through the intensives plus placement is been designed in order to, help you feel confident that you can engage with people in complex situations. So maybe moving on from there. Oh, the placement, sorry, one other point to make is that the placement is the same as the Bachelor of Social Workers, 1,000 hours divided over 2 trimesters, 500 hours each. Okay, Ross, did you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I'll just let everybody know that currently there is domestic student scholarships available for this upcoming trimester. With the scholarships that are available, there's a 15% scholarship currently for Masters of Social Work qualifying. This is for students that are obviously accepted into the postgraduate course within 2026, but predominantly for this coming intake. Bachelor of Community Services and Bachelor of Social Work currently have a 50% scholarship. And correct me if I'm wrong, Natalie, that leaves the Community Services certainly at it's actually one of the least expensive core community services bachelors in the whole of Australia.
So that would
So
make it a real bargain.
yeah, absolutely. But obviously, you would have to be accepted into this coming intake for that. And currently, if you were to start into, let's say, the diploma of community services and then continue on to do the remaining 2 years, in addition, there is that 20% alumni scholarship that is currently offered for anyone that's previously studied with us, or if you're looking to continue on in the future. Also, all of our courses are fee help eligible for any domestic students. So if you are a citizen of Australia, then you will be eligible to get fee help. Fee help means that you don't have to pay $1 out of pocket for the upfront tuition for the course. So it's a government-funded loan. So they will be able to essentially assist you with the funding of the course at this stage. So we'll just move on to the next. Perfect. And also in terms of the flexibility of the delivery modes, I believe we were speaking about this a little bit earlier, Natalie, in terms of the community services bachelor
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
how that is currently being delivered.
Yeah, so that's currently being delivered on campus. And the same with the Bachelor of Social Work. And as I said before, the Masters of Social Work is blended. So it is that mix of learning modalities, including workshops.
Perfect. So, just to clarify, community services and the Bachelor of Social Work on campus, but a blended version for our Masters of Social Work.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So we're just moving on to the next. Uh, so in terms of what makes Icon special for yourself, Natalie, what
Yeah.
have you
So
experienced of Icon?
yeah, so I'm really excited about this because there's a couple of things that's really great. We, in the community services and social work, we are relatively new to the area. But what we've been able to do with that is we're building a really fantastic team. So I've worked in a lot of universities over the years, and I've being a social worker, I'm pretty good at building relationships with people. So I've been able to extract all these fantastic lecturers from the other universities into Icon. So we're just building a beautiful team of fantastic lecturers who are really engaged, excited about being at Icon. And that is a really, I'm excited to have this developing team that we've got. And we're still building our teams. So I'm still snaffling really fantastic people from other places that I've worked. So I'm really good at that. And then the other thing that's really exciting about this as well is that having worked in other universities, some of the content in the subjects are a little bit dated, and because they've been kind of rotated over and over and over again over the years. However, at Icon, because we're starting from scratch, we're building our content, and so it's incredibly contemporary. So it's actually pulling together what is the current situation right now in terms of how we work with people, and so that is actually really exciting. So we don't have outdated information. We are kind of taking what's going on in the current world and drawing that into our the content that we're developing and preparing and delivering. So that's really exciting. The other thing that I mentioned, but it's worth highlighting, is that we have specific people who are employed to find placements for students. And I know I was talking to someone who worked at another provider, and some of their students have not been able to go on placement and been stuck in their placements, in their degree, because they couldn't get their placement, because students were trying to get the placements for themselves. So we have a team, a dedicated team so we have an admin placement team and we have a clinical placement team who are working to get the placements for students. And part of those placements requires professionally skilled practitioners to provide supervision to the students. So that's another exciting element. And we're just, because we're new and we're very energized, we're really trying to think through ways of engaging students on campus as well. And we already have a really great student experience team. So I would say that Icon's got one of the best student experience teams I've come across. They're very, very engaged with students. They're always organising fun things for students to be involved with. And the other thing that I've noticed at other universities is sometimes students really flounder when they don't know who to ask or where to go. Whereas at Icon, the student experience team are right there. You can go to them pretty much they're there until I think 8 o'clock at night on some campuses. And so students, and I would encourage you, do not be afraid to go and talk to student experience about any problem you might be having, whether it's IT issues or whether it's enrolment into subjects, or if you've got some personal challenges and you don't know where to turn. The student experience team are really beautiful people and they're very helpful. That's been my observation. And the final thing that I'd say is that I try really hard to make sure that we get back to students straight away. So that's kind of my personal goal, is that if to try and be able to respond to a student inquiry within 24 hours, if I can, like as much as I can. And so I do encourage my staff also to be doing that. So overall, hopefully you would experience that we're engaged, academic and support teams who are there for you and basically have you at the centre of what we're doing. So that's my blurb.
Absolutely, and you can really see your passion about your want to be able to provide that to students, and I can see it here across Icon. It's absolutely enthralled in how everyone is coming in with such good energy all the
Yeah.
time. Uh,
Yeah.
I'll just go through how we can actually support all of our students. So we actually will support you every step of the way. We are here to help you achieve your goals. In terms of when you put your inquiry through, or if you've already put your inquiry through, you may have already spoken with a course advisor. So you'll have your personalized course advice from the course advisors. They're always happy to help you. Uh, they will assist you through the enrollment process. If you need any further documents or anything like that, they're always able to provide you with the information of what's required from there. Uh, as Natalie alluded to, our student experience team and obviously our academic support team, they are phenomenal in what they do at supporting uh, both academic and personal success through your time with us. The facilities and the resources are really they're improving as the days go by. I know that in Sydney, you've just recently upgraded a new floor. Here in Melbourne as well, we are currently just upgrading another two floors. So there'll be plenty of space for lots of activities to be done, and that's obviously all of the rooms are very well equipped with the latest in terms of TVs, projectors, everything is very modern and up to date. And online resources, I know that we have the digital library there for people to be able to access all of their course material. So you can just jump into your library and similar, if there's any difficulties with accessing anything within the digital library, just reach out to our student experience and they're able to walk you through step by step how to get that all set up for yourself. Perfect. So we'll just moving forward. And yeah, so if anybody has any questions for us, please feel free to pop them in the uh, question and answer box, and we'll be able to possibly go through some with them. I'll just see if we've got any here. Yeah, so perfect. So just we have a question about the current community services bachelor accreditation.
Yep.
What is the current situation with that at the moment, Natalie?
Yep. So when you start a degree, you actually have to apply for accreditation. And we have applied for accreditation for the community services bachelor's degree. And basically, what we have to do is demonstrate that we can deliver the course, successfully for students, including that we can get placements for students. So those applications have gone in and we're just sort of waiting for that now. So the process may take probably about, I wouldn't want you to hold me to this, but I've been told that it may take about 9 months to hear back. But anyone who's commencing will be covered by the accreditation. So, and yeah, I know it's a concern because I believe that people, they want to ensure they've got an accredited degree because it might link to permanent residency or something. But so we're doing everything we can to ensure that accreditation has gone through and will be processed. So.
Perfect. Just in relation to the questions that are here also, in terms of the requirements for learners that are coming in to start into a Bachelor of Community Services or a Bachelor of Social Work, predominantly, would it be a diploma that would be, is it any form of diploma or does it require to be within the human services field?
Um, there's quite a lot of criteria, and I don't know that I can give it justice in terms of really explaining all of the admission requirements. There's an English requirement, and also there's and it's different for each degree, actually. So the Bachelor of Community Services, if you've got a diploma of community services, you can get entry and maybe some credit for the Bachelor of Community Services as well as the Bachelor of Social Work. So that's the main one. We would look at people who've got diplomas in maybe mental health or youth work. That would be looked at a case-by-case basis. But if you've got a diploma in IT, that would be kind of maybe a different sort of, you'd have to come in and just commence in the degree without, that wouldn't necessarily give you any advanced standing.
Yeah, so you won't gain any credit transfers, obviously, from that prior learning.
Yeah.
Perfect. Also, for Masters of Social Work, in terms
Yeah.
of the admission requirements for that one, I know it's a little bit.
Yeah. So again, admission requirements for the Bachelor of Social Work and the Masters of Social Work is set out by the professional body. So for the Masters in Social Work, you have to have an undergraduate degree. And within that undergraduate degree, you have to demonstrate that you've got 8 units or 8 subjects that are from the social behavioral sciences. So it could be gender studies, it could be sociology, it could be psychology, it could be social and behavioral sort of sciences. Those sorts of areas would be classified. Cultural studies, all of that would be kind of considered a subject that would be appropriate as an entry into the masters. It's harder for people who've, say, done an engineering degree or, again, like an IT degree. It's much harder for them to get in. And so what we would recommend is that there's a pathway into the masters by doing a graduate diploma in counselling or psychotherapy that is available through Ikon as well. So that would be a really lovely pathway into the Masters of Social Work. And there's some real benefit to that because firstly, you're getting some fantastic skills in counselling and psychotherapy, but the benefit of staying on and then moving across to the Masters of Social Work is that if you did want to do counselling, if you get the Masters of Social Work or the Bachelor of Social Work, you can get mental health accreditation, which means that you can then work as a counsellor, but under Medicare. So then your clients can actually claim back money from the service, from the money they pay for the counselling service. So that's a real advantage by doing the social work degree, as opposed to even doing a Masters in psychotherapy and counselling, because you don't get the same level of mental health accreditation.
Yeah, that's obviously that's understandable, but it's a really fantastic course to have running into the Masters of Social Work when considering that you can get that back from or for your clients.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the practical experience, I know we have over 400 partners that we're working with across Australia in terms of work placement, but if someone was coming in to do a work placement, are there any particular areas within both community services and social work that would predominantly that we would aim towards?
Yeah. So we look at some of the really large human service providers. So we've sort of got developing partnerships with like Red Cross, Wesley Mission, Uniting Care, St Vincent's de Paul. So there's some very large welfare organisations that we're engaging with, but we typically in community services and social work talk about fields of practice. So the fields of practice can include. So I'm going to just say a whole heap of ones, but it could be homelessness, it can be mental health, it can be child and family, it can be disability services, it can be working in aged care, but not, as I said before, not in a support role, but in a more of a kind of higher level role. Working with asylum seekers and refugees, working in multicultural kind of contexts. All of those are the kinds of fields of practice that we're seeking placements in. There's health, there's, as hospitals, as I mentioned, child and family, child protection, gender violence, domestic and family violence. There's just so many different fields of practice, which is why social work is and community services is such interesting degrees, because if you're interested in human well-being and all of that, it's there's just so many diverse areas in which you can work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the great elements of both of these courses. But I actually know that the social work currently is the third highest grossing graduate program after, I believe, medicine and dentistry at the moment. So if you're to come out of your either your bachelor or your master's as a graduate, you would be the third highest grossing graduate at the moment. Just in terms of class size within our courses here at Icon as well, Natalie, is there anything you can allude to on that?
Yeah, so we have some skills-based subjects. And so again, because of our accreditation requirements, some of the skills-based subjects means that we have quite beautiful, lovely, small-sized classes, 15 to 16. And then for the less skills-orientated subjects, we won't go any more than 30 in the class. But we've got beautiful classrooms. They're quite spacious. Especially in Sydney, and Melbourne's pretty good too. I haven't, and I mean, they're all really good actually when I think about it. Don't know why I'm highlighting Sydney. But yeah, and I guess something I should mention about the way in which we conduct our classes. So I talked to our teaching staff about so we always run it as a 3-hour kind of workshop. And it's not a lecture and a tutorial. It's actually, I encourage my staff to run it like a social work group. So that means that you get a bit of, an intro, a bit of an icebreaker, maybe a game even, some content to sort of learn about, then maybe a case study to discuss, an activity to do, a little bit more content, some discussion, another case study, so it's really varied, and we run it, and then we do a warm down at the end. So it's kind of fun. And in fact, I used to, one of my favorite subjects to teach was group work. And that was because we ran it very much like a group and like a social work group. And so we would play games but always with a purpose, always with an educational kind of bent to it. So I don't want you to think we just play games, but always with an educational bent. And but it's a really interactive way of learning by doing it that way. So so we really love doing our workshops and running classes in that way.
Yeah, perfect. And okay, perfect. So we'll just moving on to our next steps. So, if you're happy with everything here today, as I mentioned previously, just get in contact with your dedicated course advisor. If you've already spoken with them, then let them know if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to ask them. Just get on to them. They'd be more than happy to assist you. In terms of our next intake, it is starting on the 25th of May. So obviously starting your application is quick and easy to get it through. So the application date, I believe it will be until the 8th. So I would suggest trying to get it in as soon as possible for yourself. We will help you with fast tracking your app by offering you any assistance in terms of the actual documents that you require to put through your application. If you have any further questions or would like to look over anything, just have a review of our website as well. But I really do encourage you to get in contact with your course advisor to get the ball rolling for yourself at this stage. We just have one more question here as well. I can just answer it for you if you're okay, Nikki. Uh, do we have more practical exercise in the classroom to prepare us for work placement, such as role play, Natalie?
Yes, yep, definitely role plays, very big part of it. And one of the things I kind of learned is that some of our students are not familiar with role play, so we kind of really teach you how to do a role play and all of that too.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, all good. In terms of that, I can leave a little bit of time for if anybody else has any further questions, but feel free to
I
pop me
mean,
any
there's a
question.
couple of other points I was going to make that I haven't made yet, and that
Oh,
was
sorry. Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. It's just I just thought I may as well mention it now since we've got a bit of time. Um, I think one of the reasons why there's quite a few social work courses in the country, but it's because it's been identified as a very high level need for social workers and community service workers in it's like it's a continually growing industry. And so that's something, again, that hopefully, when you graduate, there won't be a problem with getting a job, that there'll be jobs there for you. And the other thing that's really interesting is that I was doing some reading recently, and there was quite a bit of discussion about who is AI going to replace. And social work and community services workers were identified as not replaceable by AI, bots or whatever it might be. So that's exciting to think that you're going into a course potentially that can't be replaced by AI, because we are, committed to being relational and connected. But I can tell you a little bit about my husband works as a social worker, and he works in adult mental health. He has a really amazing job where he works with people who are hear voices. So a lot of his client group hear voices, and a lot of them have spent quite a long time in institutions, unfortunately. And so, but they're back in the community, and they're really in a kind of stage. It's been identified as being in recovery. So they're kind of getting through it in a sense. So as a social worker, he does two kind of key things. One thing is that he finds out from them, for them to be able to feel like they can engage in their life and in their world, what do they need? And it might be really practical things, like it might be, I want to get fit, or so it could be practical stuff like that. But often people who have had such a tough time, even when they want to do those sorts of things, they've got a mindset that's making it really hard for them to do those things. So he has a great job. He will go swimming with them, with these clients, or he might go running with his clients, and then talk through with them what made it possible for them to engage in that way, what was stopping them from being able to do that today, or so to try and help unpack what made it possible and what were the barriers, in a sense. But it's not just about fitness. He's also helped someone get onto a dating app, for example. And he's supported people to go dancing. He supported people to access Centrelink, or to actually apply for sort of education and stuff like that. So he really does whatever is needed So he's doing the practical, but also the emotional and psychological kind of support. So it's a really great job, and it's just that's just one example of what social work can do, what social workers and community services workers can do to support our most vulnerable people in society. So yeah, so just thought I'd share that.
Perfect, and I'm really glad that you shared that. I hope that everybody has enjoyed speaking. I know I certainly have enjoyed listening to you this evening, Natalie. You've really encouraged me to look more into the social work and community services. I feel like it's a really great area for anybody to get into as a work um, future.
Ross, we'd very much welcome you as a student if you'd like to come and be a student with us.
Yeah, well, look, yeah, I'm still waiting on the visa. Everyone probably heard my accent, so I'm still waiting on those things to get me through
Yeah,
for us to be able to do it. But yeah, be happy to join up in the future, I'm sure.
yeah.
Perfect. Well, we have one further question, or we have a couple further questions here. Um, yep. So, uh, just in terms of the recording, I believe we will be sending that information out after as well. And anything that you'd like to sign off with, Natalie, at all?
No, I think it's been lovely to chat. And it's always hard though because you don't get any feedback from the group. But I hope you've sort of had your questions answered, and hopefully really look forward to seeing you in class next trimester.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight, guys. We've just got a last question in there. Is Icon Institute part of Course?
Of which one?
Course.
Oh, Cricos is to do with, I believe, to do with the capacity to accommodate students, I thought. So do we follow the Cricos requirements? Yes, we do, if that's the question. Would you have any response to that question, Ross?
I can jump in. So all our courses are CRICROS registered as they all go through text as a higher education and university provider. So yes, definitely all the courses will have CRICROS codes. So just much the same as any other university provider. Yeah, just more on the private side.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much, Nikki, and thank you very much, Natalie. Uh, one moment. We have another question there. Just how old is Icon? Uh, Natalie, it's 30 years, is it? Or just over?
I think it's between 20 and 30 years, and started with in psychotherapy and counselling was its kind of first degree, I believe.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, it's all good. All right. Well, thank you again, Natalie. Uh, we will leave it there, I think, unless anybody else has anything else that they'd like to ask about. I'll just give you another minute there to ask a question. Oh, good. Well, I hope everyone has enjoyed, and I certainly have. Natalie, you've certainly described very well how the difference between community services and social work, and we're very much so looking forward to welcoming all of our students in the future.